Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the USA Dota League Season 4. I'm your host, 49, the Master Caster who talks a lot faster, and this is Game 3 of a best of 3 series between Dagon Crusade, otherwise known as Dagon Club, playing against DoYuEven, currently calling himself Fight Club. Pretty good performance coming through from both teams so far. This is in the winners bracket, of course. The loser will be knocked down to face off, I believe, against Abaddon in the best of 1 knockout series, so Dagon Crusade. Game 2, a little bit sloppy performance coming through from them as far as the draft is concerned, picking up the Bloodseeker and then decided to jungle with the Bloodseeker. Not necessarily a terrible decision, just because they didn't have any way to contest the Bloodseeker. Poor item choices coming through from Flash, choosing to go for very carry-oriented items as opposed to utility-based items. Picking up a Blade Mail very early on as his first item actually would have won them the game, just because it means Leshrac can't do anything to you. And every time we run into a fight, Leshrac kills himself due to the sheer amount of uncontrolled AoE. So Dagon Crusade, they've got first pick. They choose to actually ban out the Undying fairly early on. And Fight Club, they're not going to mess around. They don't want to give away the Leshrac, chooses to ban out the Leshrac. So as far as Fight Club are concerned, or DoYuEven, most likely could be seeing the Leshrac and the Gyrocopter ban. The last time they gave away the Gyrocopter didn't really work out too well. That being said, they did draft 4 melee heroes against the lineup with Dazzle as well as an Undying. So Dagon Crusade going to be deliberating for their second ban. They could choose to ban out the Lina, although as far as the lineup from Fight Club are concerned, or DoYuEven, they don't actually have a Lina player. And so instead they choose to ban out the Tuskar. So like the decision coming through from Dagon Crusade to ban out Tusk, it does provide you a bit more early skirmishing capability, especially with the snowball into ice shards. And it looks like we do see the Gyrocopter ban coming through from them. So Dagon Crusade can choose to go for the first pick Lina. Lina has been fairly common as a first pick hero due to the fact that she provides fantastic laning potential. As a 1v1 laner, it's very difficult to lose a lane as the Lina. You just spam out the lane. You've got superior range, so you can constantly throw those right clicks in. And it's very difficult to threaten a kill against Lina, even if you rotate, so long as you're able to get a good LSA off. Lina also can be run as a support, which is something that Team Envy likes to do, just because she does have a very low cooldown, and LSA is considered to be a very efficient nuke. So we do see the Lina pickup coming through from Dagon Crusade. I believe it most likely will be Flash playing it in the 4 position role. I don't think I've ever seen a game with Yoshi playing the Lina in the mid lane, so most likely going to be a support Lina pick coming through from them. The boys from DoYuEven now have first and second picks, so they could potentially think about maybe even going for a hero like a Bounty Hunter to try and provide a bit of assistance in the mid lane. Bounty Hunter's great at providing a lot of reconnaissance in the enemy jungle since Dagon Crusade. The drawback is they play incredibly greedy. All their players, including the carry player as well as the supports, tend to play quite passive and do like to prioritize their own farm above all else. And so picking up a hero like a Bounty Hunter to disrupt their lanes, make it very difficult for them to get a lot of farm done in the middle lane, as well as to stack camps, since you've got Bounty Hunter either threatening kills in the mid lane or forcing inefficient rotations. You could also walk through the enemy jungle, scout out which camps have been stacked, place an observer ward so you know when they're shooting to go for those stacks. And we do see the Clockwerk Wyvern pickup coming through from the boys in DoYuEven. So Clockwerk, most likely going to be played by Gats, even though it's UGTFO's signature hero, just because I've switched up the player roles. UGTFO seems to currently be playing either carry or the mid. And so Gats as the offlaner most likely will be picking up the Clockwerk Goblin. Clockwerk's a great hero to help you deal with the Lina, especially if Clockwerk's able to farm up the Blade Mail fairly early on. Well, Lina's cast point's high enough that the Battle Resort won't actually interrupt her LSA. It still does a hell of a lot of damage, and if you get the Blade Mail, then Lina actually can't do anything to the Clockwerk. So Clockwerk can be quite a powerful pickup. It also helps you isolate out and potentially block a lot of other heroes such as the Earthshaker. Clockwerk's a natural predator to the Earthshaker, since the Earthshaker can't do anything apart from Echo Slam if he's caught inside the Cog Battery Assault combination, just because his cast point's high enough that if he tries to go for the Enchant Totem or the Fissure, the Battery Assault will mini-stun him out of it, so he's never able to get an ability off. So Clockwerk's going to be quite a powerful hero to pick up fairly early on as a very aggressive offlane hero, since Gat's biggest weakness as the offlane is he's not very good with his lane mechanics. He always seems to fall behind as far as farm's concerned. Picking up a hero like a Clockwerk means that even if you do fall behind on farm, so long as you have some measure, so you're able to farm something like a Bottle and Boots, and then get level 6, you have a massive amount of kill power, so you're able to recover that way. And Clockwerk's a hero that doesn't necessarily need too much farm to be effective, although ideally you want the Blade Mail or the Force Staff, depending on the situation, by around the 20-minute mark, just to make sure that you have some measure of either superior gank power coming through from the Blade Mail, in which case no one can do anything if you hookshot on top of them, or the Force Staff to give yourself a bit more tactical options. And Dagon Crusade choose to pick up the Dazzle. Dazzle's actually being played, going to be played by NACL, it's one of his signature heroes, and he's been doing exceptionally well with the Dazzle so far. Game 1's victory was largely due to the fact that he was always in position to get a good Shell of Grave off, or to threaten kills with the Weave. So Dazzle's going to be able to do a huge amount of work coming through from the boys in Dagon Crusade. And the Dazzle pick also forces out the Phantom Lancer ban As far as the boys from DoYuEven are concerned, just because the Dazzle PL, with the Weave as well as the Doppelganger Shadow Wave combination, it does simply provide too much burst potential for the offlaner to deal with. That being said, we do see the Slug ban coming through from Dagon Crusade, so respecting Kin Killer. We see the Respect Broodmother ban coming through from the boys in DoYuEven, as they realize this time Bambi might actually play a regular offlane hero as opposed to the Visage. The Visage, unfortunately, in the last game, even though he did get a fairly good start, all things considered, wasn't going to be anywhere near as effective, so they eventually hit a wall where once BKB starts to come online, Visage can only do so much. So we see the Silencer ban coming through from Dagon Crusade. The Silencer is one of the best heroes to deal with Dazzle. Throughout the global silence, it gives you a 5 to 6 second window of opportunity to kill Dazzle before you have to worry about the Shallow Grave. But looks like the boys from DoYuEven. Ghoulie, do you have any thoughts so far on the picks and bans coming through from both teams?
10 seconds remaining.
It's pretty defensive so far from DoYuEven. I quite like their disengage, they'll be able to control the fights there, but yeah, I mean they've got a bit of counter initiation on both sides so far.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that DoYuEven gonna respect ban the Phantom Lancer, even though they were able to take a win against 322's PL. It was largely due to the fact that Catch was able to constantly apply pressure into the bottom lane. You could do that as a Darkseer, you can't really do that as a Clockwerk, and it looks like DoYuEven actually chooses to go for the Bloodseeker pickup fairly early on, so Bloodseeker being picked up in the second picking stage. Immediate response coming through from Dagon Crusade with the Phoenix, and Phoenix is a great hero to deal with the Bloodseeker, just because if Bloodseeker goes on the Phoenix, Phoenix just pops the egg, catches him with the Fiery Souls, and then just decides to pop inside the egg. Bloodseeker's attack speed slow enough, he won't be able to break the egg, so long as he gets hit by a Fiery Spirit first. Phoenix is great at being able to counter-initiate, so every time Bloodseeker charges into a lane, TP in to react. Throw out a couple of Fiery Spirits, it makes it very difficult for the Blood to actually try commit for a kill. So it looks like the boys from DoYuEven are going to be deliberating for their fourth pick. One of the best ways to deal with the Phoenix is just to pick up a very aggressive support hero that isn't so dependent on right-click damage. So an example of this is going to be the Skywrath Mage. Skywrath just throws the Q at him every time Phoenix shows himself, so you place a very aggressive laning ward. And Phoenix, even if he does tag the Skywrath with the Fiery Spirit, not going to be enough to be able to kill him, and Skywrath isn't dependent on last hit, so it's relying on his attack animation, so he can just keep throwing at the Q. If Phoenix tries to go for the Icarus dive, it'll be a little bit cheeky. If you get the Ancient Seal at level 2, you could potentially set up kills against them, so Phoenix is a hero that has to play quite passively, as far as the laning stage is concerned, and wait for the opposing support to make a mistake and get out of position before you can threaten the kill. So one of the best ways to counteract that is just pick very aggressive supports that can get up in Phoenix's face at level 1, when all he has is the Icarus dive, and just make sure that he's not able to get much experience from that point onwards. So a hero like Skywrath Mage is a good example of this, but then again, not too sure how comfortable Henry is in the Skywrath Mage, especially with 0 armor against a lineup with a Dazzle. Skywrath will be food every time he so much as shows himself. As far as Dagon Crusade is concerned, I actually have the option of picking up Skywrath. It's a great way to counteract Winter Wyvern. Every time she throws up the Cold Embrace, you say thanks for the setup, throw up the Mystic Flare, you're guaranteed to get the full duration of the Mystic Flare off. And so that gives you a way to burst people down, especially because you also have the Lina with the Gruner Blade to be able to pick people off. So if it does happen to be a Bloodseeker v Lina matchup, it actually does favor the Bloodseeker, even though Lina's great at spamming up the lane, just because the Bloodseeker can bide his time. Throw out the Blood right when the creep wave is at about half HP. Blood Rage yourself, run in. Lina in that case is forced to run away, so she doesn't get silenced, because if she gets silenced, Bloodseeker can just right click her down and kill her. And when she backs off, the Blood right triggers, killing off the creeps and healing up the Bloodseeker back to full. So it does make it very difficult for Lina to ever threaten a kill against Bloodseeker. Whereas Bloodseeker can, when Lina tries to go for runes, catch her with the Rupture, dodge the LSA and then just kill her that way, or you throw out the Rupture and then try catch her with the Blood Right, so you do have lots of openings, whereas Lina simply has to rely on not being in the position, as well as waiting on the supports to be able to potentially TP in. So it is a lane that will naturally favour the Bloodseeker, although the advantage Lina has is at level 1 and level 2, just spamming up the lane, trying to keep Bloodseeker low, so going for the LSA at 1, every time Bloodseeker goes for a last hit, stun him, whack him a couple of times, that way eventually he gets low enough that he's forced to go through his consumables. Otherwise, if he sticks around for too long, he could potentially just get picked off by the Dragon Slave. So Witch Doctor going to be the secondary support pickup coming through from the boys in DoYuEven. Once again, as Ghoulie mentioned, very powerful defensive support duo. Wyvern with the Cold Embrace, Witch Doctor with the Paralyzing Cask, as well as the Voodoo Restoration. Most likely won't be seeing a Melodic build coming through from the Witch Doctor. The nice thing about the Witch Doctor is he can trade hits against the Phoenix, and he's got the Voodoo Restoration to work with, so he doesn't so you've got a larger window of error. Whereas a much more fragile hero against a Phoenix, if you get caught by a Fiery Spirit, you have to run, in which case Phoenix now has a couple of seconds to go ham and start whacking you without fear of retaliation, just because it takes you about 5 seconds for you to get a right click in if you get tagged by a Fiery Spirit early on. So Dagon Crusade, as far as the draft is concerned, we are going to be seeing Phoenix as the offlaner. They do decide to pick up Skywrath. So we are going to be seeing a mid lane Lina from the look of it. So Yoshi will be playing Lina in the mid lane. Dazzle's going to be played by NACL, and we do see the Skywrath. And so the last time they did this, they did pick up the Ursa Warrior to capitalize off the Skywrath Mage Concussive Shot. It does provide you an absolutely filthy amount of damage. Concussive Shot, Ursa runs in with phase boots, claps, and then just whacks people down. There's no way you can really disengage against that combination. And the Skywrath is a great way to counteract the effectiveness of the Winter Wyvern and potentially try burst down the Bloodseeker. Anciency onto Laguna Blade just blows the Bloodseeker to pieces. So Bloodseeker this game really wants to go for the Blade Mail ASAP. So that way, if he gets bursted down by either the Mystic Flare or the Laguna Blade, he's able to at least threaten to kill back on either of them. And you do have a fair amount of uncontrolled AoE coming through from the boys in Dagon Crusade. The Dragon Slave most likely will clip the Bloodseeker, as well as the LSA, and also potentially the Mystic Flare. So the Skywrath Mage is very effective as dealing with the Clockwerk, just because you can hang back. So you're never going to be in range for Clockwerk to either threaten to kill the Battery Assault, or for him to push you back with the Cog, since that's how Clockwerk generally wins the laning stage against a lot of heroes. The Skywrath is going to be a great hero at zoning out the Clockwerk. That being said, the drawback of these two picks is they don't actually have a greedy support, and this is one of the weaknesses of Flash as a 4-position support. Because he plays quite greedy, you often have to make sure he could play a support hero that could Flash farm, or make sure that you're able to give him some kind of jungle support, so that way he's able to find some measure of farm that way. So it will be interesting seeing Flash just play a regular zoning laning support. So a lot of the pressure will be placed over on Yoshi to be the fun of zone farm, unless if NACL decides to vacate the laning stack camps for him. What are your thoughts so far on the last two picks coming through from Dagon Crusade, the Phoenix and the Skywrath?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't know how Phoenix is going to do. He might try and dive onto the cliff and just self-experience there. He's going to have a hard time. A lot harder than Clockwerk, at least.
Sorry, drank a bit of water and went down the wrong pipe. So it looks like we are going to be seeing the Invoker pickup coming through from the boys in DoYuEven. So Ken Killer, infamous for going for the Quas Exalt Invoker in the mid lane. So we are going to be seeing Invoker as the mid lane farmer, Bloodseeker as the safe lane farmer, Clockwerk as the off laner, the Wyvern most likely is the 4, and Witch Doctor is the 5. Can actually decide to switch things up. Witch Doctor is also quite powerful as a 4, just because he does a lot of damage if he's able to get the Aghanim Scepter. But against this lineup, you want to make sure you get the Glimmer Cape ASAP as the Winter Wyvern, just to make sure your Cold Embrace doesn't accidentally kill people. So we're going to introduce the players on both teams in the lineup of Dagon Crusade. Flash going to be playing the 4-position support as the Skywrath Mage. 3-2-2 Fields going to be playing the Medusa as the 1. NACL going to be playing the 5 as the Dazzle. Yoshi going to be playing the 2 as the Lina in the mid lane. And we do see Bambi going to be playing the off laner as the Phoenix. Over in the boys in DoYuEven, Gat's going to be playing the off lane as the Clockwerk, being starting with an extra set of tangos to neutralize the effectiveness of the Skywrath, like the decision coming through from him. Just being pulled safety ward by Seize the Cheese. Seize the Cheese going to be playing the 4-position Witch Doctor. Kin going to be playing the mid lane Invoker, showing off his new hair. We are going to be seeing UGTFO as the safe lane farming Bloodseeker. And Henry going to be playing the Winter Wyvern as the 5. Looks like already starting with sentries as well, just to guarantee that they're able to de-ward the zoning ward coming through from, or at least a block ward coming through from Bambi. Since Bambi, he's done this exact same ward spot every single time. Henry says, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, everyone's going to yell at me. So might as well bring some sentries in preparation. We do actually see an aggressive observer ward being placed on the high ground. Don't think this has been scouted out. So this is actually going to provide a massive amount of advantage in this matchup. Invoker v the Lina. If it's Quas Exalt Invoker, the Invoker has a significant advantage, just because he's got enough base damage to contest against Lina, so Lina has to try to just burst him down and threaten kills that way. But once the Invoker gets access to double Forge Spirit, with the Cold Snap, Yoshi could risk death every time he so much as shows himself. Whereas if it's the Quas Wex Invoker, it gives a significant amount of advantage into the hands of the Lina fairly early on. But once you get access to the level 3 EMP Tornado combination, that's when the lane starts to push into your favor. So as far as Kin Kill is concerned, whether he goes Quas Wex or Quas Exalt, in this case because it's a Medusa, Quas Wex Invoker is actually going to be superior, just because you know that Dagon Crusade, they love fighting together as 5. The best way to interrupt that is just to go for the Quas Wex Tornado into EMP. You can outright win you engagements by burning off all the mana on the supports. Looks like the ward is going to be immediately dewarded, so RIP Henry. Sees the Cheese, not going to be too happy with this. Looks like he's the one that actually placed the ward, and Henry going to be hanging back, waiting for them to try to go for the bounty rune. Gats is already in position though, so Gats can just walk up and try to take this. He's got the cogs to work with, so there's no way they can actually try to intercept this. And we do see a bit of positioning play coming through from both teams. We do see the Octogone being used over in Flash. Gat's going to throw out the cogs, is going to eat a little bit of damage to the LSA, and Flash just instantly takes a fall, so Yoshi runs for his life, and Henry's going to be very happy with this. Able to set that up with a nice play coming through from the Arctic Bone and Kin. So looks like we're going to be seeing the Clockwerk Invoker coming through from him. Clockwerk Invoker is going to be the best way to deal with the Medusa, just because if you can burn off her mana pool, Medusa's just a giant range creep. She's a scary snake lady, but without any mana. Actually very easy to deal with. So Kin Killer choosing to go for the Clockwerk build. Most likely will be choosing to go for the either the Hand of Midas or the Orchid of Malevolence. Generally the Quas Exalt Invoker is the one that goes for Midas, and the Clockwerk goes for the Orchid, just because the Orchid gives you great kill potential. It turns you into a ghetto Clinks. You run around with the Ghost Walk, see someone, Orchid them, Cold Snap them, and just whack him down. But in the meanwhile, Yoshi will have a significant advantage at level 1 as far as last hit deny is concerned, just because Invoker, even though he is the king of everything, unfortunately he's got the last hitting damage of a Wet Kitten, so he's not really able to do much, at least until he picks up a couple of points over in the Wex, in which case he can rely on his great attack animation, as well as potentially just be able to bully out Yoshi. So the Clockwerk Invoker used to be considered overpowered back when the Cold Snap did 30 damage every trigger, so it basically gave you an easy lane. So even if you were terrible at last hitting, you could just Cold Snap them every time you see them, hit them a couple of times, and eventually you win through attrition. Now with the nerf to the Cold Snap damage at the early levels, it does do more damage if you get a couple points of the Quas regen, but the Quas is usually the one you max out last. Kin should be having the time of his life now that the creep wave's in underneath the tower range, since his damage is low enough that it will just barely be enough to be able to finish off the creeps. Generally 59 is the peak damage point you want for if you're last hitting under tower. Anything above that and you run the risk of not being a finish off the creep. Anything lower than that, the tower's usually able to finish it off, so UGTFO going to be having a very easy time against Bambi, but once again the creep wave was way too far forward, all things considered. Especially with the Bloodseeker, who's going to be prioritizing denies, the creep wave should always be around this region, especially when you support there to be the second pull camps. So UGTFO doing everything you can to try to control the creep equilibrium against Bambi, and this time Henry committing both sentry wards, first going for the defensive safety ward, now able to actually get the D ward. It looks like he's going to be stacking up camps. It's a good play coming through from Henry, at least making sure that this time he's able to learn from his mistakes. And Yoshi, over in the mid lane, is going to have a fairly good time up until Kin picks up level 4. That's the point when, with the second point over in the Wex region, you can start to turn things around. You can turn around with the low range Tornado EMT combo over on Yoshi. Yoshi's actually putting himself way too far forward. Because you've got the Quas regen active on Kin, you know you're never really going to be able to drive him out of the lane through sheer harassment damage. Speaking of which, we see the rotation coming through from Caesar Cheese. Actually puts himself at risking Henry, also going to be inside tower range. Caesar Cheese actually almost dies. Yoshi is able to at least find himself a tit for tat trade, and Yoshi's going to be very happy with this. Bit unfortunate that Caesar Cheese chose to run that way, running through the tower, eating a huge amount of tower shots as he did so. Could have activated the Voodoo Restoration a little bit earlier as he ran through the tower, but while that happens, UGTFO now being left alone against Bambi, and Bambi does have a nice little opening to find himself with a farm. So very similar to a hero like a Centaur Warrunner, you generally want to wait until the enemy supports leave, and then once they leave, you can look to play quite aggressively. So it's a lot of patience that comes to play when you're playing a hero like the Phoenix. So UGTFO tag with the Fiery Spirit, now going to be not going to be the last hit anything. So Bambi's actually put himself in a great position through the Fiery Spirit charges. And with this, Yoshi going to go for a pick off over in Kin, but Kin able to waddle away if it's his safety. He does have Phase Boots flying up towards him fairly soon, so the Phase Boots is the superior build over for the Clockwerk Invoker. Just because you already are fast and you got so little base damage coming without the access to the Exalt regen, that picking up Phase Boots makes up for a lot of your weaknesses. Does help you move incredibly quickly with the Wex as well. So we do see a potential in the rotation coming through from Henry. He does have the Arctic Burn already. Unfortunately, he's been pinged out. They do know that Henry's going to be coming in from position. Looks like NACL is also waiting in the wings, and Henry just wastes his Arctic Burn. Not really able to capitalize off that. So a little bit unfortunate. Most likely we'll be choosing to max out the Arctic Burn this game, just to give yourself the additional range. It's much more easy to maneuver around these engagements if you've got the additional range to work with, just so that way you don't have to put yourself closer to the opposing team. So Caesar Cheese going to push back Bambi, but Bambi looks like that his Icarus Dive is down. This is when you can look to play quite aggressively, very similar to a hero like a Centaur. If Centaur throws out a Hoof Stomp and he doesn't land on anybody, or even if he just lands on him but isn't able to have any kind of mana regen, he no longer has the second stomp. And so when you see the Phoenix or the Centaur use either the stun or the Icarus Dive, you play super aggressively until you know they have mana or the cooldown for it again. So Icarus Dive's got a 36-second cooldown. If he throws it out, you play super aggressively for the next 36 seconds. Since he no longer has that as his get out jail free card, looks like over in the top lane, Gats able to potentially threaten the kill against Flash, but he does back away at the last possible moment. But now Gats going to be able to catch out Flash at least. Never mind, Flash is able to juke out the cogs for now. No battery assault, and as a result, Flash should be fine. Flash picking up boots fairly early on, and Gats starting with the extra set of tangos, it does neutralize all the effectiveness of the Skywrath Mage. Since Gats is just able to weather the storm, Skywrath's going to run out of mana before Gats runs out of HP or HP regen. And once he's out of mana, then you can play super aggressively against him. So Gats having a great time in the top lane, even though he still only has one last hit. Actually completely baffled as to how this is the case. In this case, you actually might want to think about going for 2 points in the Rocket Flare, just to make sure you're able to find some measure of fun, but 3-2-2. Actually choosing to go for a max split shot build, so deciding to go for a very European style build where you don't go for any points in the Mystic Snake. While that happens, UGTFO actually gets an easy pick off over on Bambi. It's a little bit unfortunate that Gats is actually choosing not to go for any points in the Rocket Flare, just because it makes it very difficult for him to find last hits. And UGTFO, another interesting skill point, choosing to go for the second point in Blood Rage before you max out the Thirst is actually a bit of a misplay coming through from him. Unless you're jungling where you constantly need the Blood Rage, you always want to max out Thirst. Thirst is going to be your bread and butter. It's what actually makes Bloodseeker Bloodseeker. And the Blood Rage, you've got 4 seconds of downtime with the level 1 Blood Rage. It's fairly insignificant, especially since you know that against a hero like a Phoenix, you're not going to be too worried about missing last hits anytime soon, as long as you're able to keep darting in and out. Looks like we've got Caesar Cheese waiting around in the mid lane. He's actually level 4 off the back of him being able to find a lot of experience from those kills, as well as Henry spending most of his time in the jungle constantly stacking camps. So this time, because they're able to find a couple of successful kills, the experience is actually looking quite favourable for both the supports on the lineup of DoYuEven, so much better execution coming through from them this time. Yoshi does have the Invis Rune and the Laguna Blade, but even then won't have enough damage to be able to kill Ken unless she lands the LSA as well. So Ken has to be very careful. He does have the Wex region is active, and Yoshi going to be in position. Here comes that NACL. LSA is going to miss, and Ken just turns around, starts slapping around. So Yoshi, what the hell was that? NACL. Only level 2, also has been stacking up camps for the look of it. Or at least the medium cap at least. We do see the rotation actually coming through from Caesar Cheese with the Haste Rune. And with this, Yoshi's going to lose all his mana, so great EMP play coming through from them, and Ken able to find himself a nice counter kill. So Ken actually going to keep chasing his NACL. NACL doesn't have to Shallow Grave to work with, got the Arctic Burn active from Henry and the Cold Snap, and with this, great play coming through from the boys over on DoYuEven. Much better execution coming from them this time. Henry, unfortunately, is going to lose flight, so he is going to back away, and Ken, they're in position just in case he has to draw creep aggro. It's a good play coming through from Ken Killer to help out his support, just because the Wyvern is very susceptible, just to eating a lot of right-click damage from creeps. UGTFO over in the bottom lane, now that he has the Rupture to work with, it's basically an easy kill against Bambi, especially because Bambi doesn't have the Supernova yet. So UGTFO does have the option to do so. It looks like Flash to pick up a Smoke of Deceit, but so far, because he has been playing a much more active support as the Skywrath, hasn't been having too great of a time, especially with the early death he picked up trying to contest the bounty rune. So Gats looks like he's choosing to go for the Phase Boots as his first big item, very similar to UGTFO, gives you a lot more aggressive capability. Most competitive Clockwerk players like to go for treads just because of tread switching, but Phase Boots is also quite powerful, especially because it gives you another way to act as a gap closer without depending entirely on your hook shot. Ken goes in once again against Yoshi. Yoshi going to be called out by the Cold Snap into the EMP. Even if they don't go for the kill, the EMP is going to be enough. The Tornado now flies over on him. Flash going to be in a very sticky situation, and Ken decides to dive a little bit too deep because they've actually decided to switch targets over on Flash. Since Flash has 0 armor, Ken has to be a little bit careful, doesn't have Ghost Walk for at least 4 more seconds, and Henry has to Cold Embrace but doesn't want to use it without killing Ken. As a result, Henry has to be a little bit careful. Yoshi decides to cancel the LSA, throws out the Laguna Blade instead, and Henry going to die to the concussive shot. RIP Henry. While that happens, UGTFO does have the Rupture but doesn't want to dive, especially with everybody there. Decides to throw out the Blood right into the Rupture over on Yoshi. Yoshi's been kept alive by the Shallow Grave. Actually, it does land the LSA at least, but UGTFO should be to keep chasing. Yoshi dies to the right click coming through. Looks like Creep was able to find that last hit. And while that happens, the bottom lane, Bambi, able to capitalize off his teammate's death, at least forcing out the rotation in the mid lane. It looks like he's building closer towards the Soul Ring. What are your thoughts so far in this game, Ghoulie?
Oh, really impressed with what the DoYuEven team are doing at the moment.
Yeah, the support rotations much more fluid, much more coherent. They're not kind of dicking around and wasting a lot of time this time. Caesar Cheese now standing his ground against Bambi, but Bambi, with the Fiery Spirits, decides to commit with the Icarus dive, and as a result, Caesar Cheese might actually die to the dot damage. A little bit unfortunate. Caesar Cheese did choose to go for a point in the Maledict, so this is where he went wrong. Had he chosen to go for a point in stats or additional point in Voodoo Restoration, would have upped his chances of surviving. It's just the Maledict's an ability you either max or you skip. There's no real middle ground. And with this kind of lineup, Maledict actually isn't too bad to max out. But because he'd already chosen to commit with the Voodoo Restoration, generally better off just to forego the Maledict altogether. LSA going to whiff from Yoshi and Ken. Looks like he's able to at least provide some covering fire with the Tornado into EMP over on 4 heroes. Quick going to land over on NACL, never mind. At least forced them back. And King Killer going to be very happy with this. As far as our net worth is concerned, he's doing a pretty good job. 3-2-2. The only saving grace for the boys over on Dagon Club, he is choosing to go for the European style build where you don't go for any points in the Mystic Snake and just choose to prioritize the split shot as well as the Mother Shield fairly early on. Nice thing about this build is it lets you fight very early on, just because you do so much damage with the split shot, especially if you decide to go for something like a Yasha fairly early on. or in the case of, I believe it was Golak, he likes to go for the Mask of Madness into an MKB or Divine Rapier. The drawback, of course, of this build is Mystic Snake is really going to be what helps you control your lane and let you be solo, play solo in the lane. And Mystic Snake actually does an obscene amount of damage in fights, especially if the opposing team have very fragile supports that are often going to be quite close together because you've got the Voodoo Restoration to work around. So the lack of the Mystic Snake means that Gats can play much more aggressively in lane. Had he gone for Mystic Snake, Gats would actually be zoned out of lane constantly, or not have any mana to do anything. And so it does actually compromise your laning stage and does limit a lot of your killing power. The nice thing is it does help you farm slightly faster, but then again, Mystic Snake is considered to be one of those abilities that you really do want ASAP. And Gats chooses to commit for a kill against 322. 322 does have the Stone Gates to work with, but here comes the EMP play coming through from the King Killer. He doesn't really care if he gets turned to stone. 322 looks like to die to one more right click coming through from the creep, it looks like in Ken. Turned to stone, but Bambi is able to find a counter kill against Gats. Going to be very happy with that trade. Trading a 3 for a 1, throws out the Tornado, does catch out Bambi. But Flash is there. Flash is now going to be called out by the Paralyzing Cask Bounce, and with this, the Supernova is going to be forced down. Ken backs away. Going to be a very good play coming through from the boys in DoYuEven. They force out the Supernova, get a kill against the Medusa, and even force out the Stone Getters. Sees the cheese, backs himself away. Yoshi destroys the Dragon Slave, going to whiff on everything, and while that's happening, UGTFO and Henry should be able to knock down this tier 1 tower for free. Henry does actually choose to max out the Splinter Blast. Splinter Blast is going to be the ability you want to go for if you're worried the opposing team is going to push for. Otherwise, in this case, the Arctic Burn might be the superior call, just because you know that the additional range just be to provide the snare for everybody else in position is going to be very valuable. So the nice thing, of course, about the Splinter Blast build, gives you fantastic counter push and does actually give you a surprisingly high amount of burst damage, especially if the opposing team don't play around it. But it looks like Ken, choosing to go for the Hand of Midas, realizes when you're ahead, get further ahead. And the Hand of Midas is a great way to counteract the effect of the Medusa, just because you know that the lineup of the Medusa, it's very difficult to reach high ground early on. One of the worst things you could do is try to reach high ground too early against a team with a Medusa, so they're going to decide to say, alright, you want to play Greed, let's play Greed. Get all 5 of our heroes farmed up, and that way we'll win through sheer item advantage. UGTFO with the early Yasha pickup over on him, choosing to max out the Blood Rage now that he's got the 1 point over the Blood Right. Some players will choose to stick with 2 points to Blood Rage and then max out Blood Right, just because the Blood Right silence, especially because you've got the Tornado set it up, and the hook shot can be absolutely filthy. Personally, I feel like in this case the Blood Right's the superior ability to max out, but then again, Blood Rage is going to be quite powerful as well. Generally the second point is going to be the cutoff point, just because that gives you 0 uptime. On the Blood Rage, you'll always have it active, so it means you could jungle and never really have to worry about coming back to base or taking any kind of harassment damage, since you could heal it back up. Any points past that just increase your damage, but it's not really going to be that effective unless you want to go for a build where you pick up an early Blade Mail, so that way you can actually capitalize on the additional damage you're receiving. But with this, the Clockwerk Invoker makes it very difficult for Dagon Club to fight as 5, and Dagon Club love fighting as 5. So this is going to make it very difficult for them to accomplish any of the objectives. And with this, they should actually be able to apply a fair amount of damage to the tier 2 tower, and actually even take the tier 2 tower without Dagon Club trying to take an engagement, just because if they do try to fight into this, you've got the Hookshot, Tornado, EMP. It's going to make it very difficult for them to try to take any successful team fight against the lineup of DoYuEven. Especially with Caesar Cheese waiting inside the tree line. They're basically dependent on Bambi, Icarus diving in, catching a couple of people with the Fiery Spirit, and then Supernova to force back the entire lineup of DoYuEven. Otherwise, if they don't have that, they don't really have any other form of initiation, and as a result, they can just choose to keep slow sieging down the tower. So we do see 322 actually rotating to the bottom lane, just trying to find as much farm as possible. He does have the Yasha completed, does decide to TP in to help out the rest of his team. Drawback of Deuce is just only going for split shot. Now that he's got the Yasha, actually has a fair amount of damage to work with. Caesar Cheese going to be called out of position by NACL, as well as Bambi. Bambi going to Icarus dive in, throws out the Supernova, and looks like they are able to pick off our Caesar Cheese at the start of the fight. But while that happens, NACL now going to be out of position. King Killer throws out the EMP Tornado combination over on him. Shellergrave might come out in time, but NACL now out of mana. UGTFO going to keep chasing, throws out the Rupture, backs away, and NACL should be taking a full. Yoshi in the meanwhile, called out by the Winner's Curse by Henry, able to find himself a nice pick-off. Kiora running for his life from 322, able to keep himself alive with the Cold Embrace, and Gats now going to die to the Arcane Shot coming through from Flash. Looks like the last that came through from Phoenix. So Ken turns around with the Ghost Walk, now going in 322, but they want to really try to pick off Bambi. UGTFO, good pick-off coming through from him. 322 is now out of mana and Flash, running for his life. The Paralyzing Cast being thrown out over in 322. Deathwall going to be coming in as well as Ken just keeps chasing, and UGTFO comes up with a design. NACL gets 2-shot by him, and UGTFO should be able to find himself another Ultra Kill. Great performance coming through from them in this game. And with this, it kind of looks like DoYuEven. They finally got everything clicking for them. The supports are playing off each other a lot better. Their cores are learning to trust each other and kind of know when to go in and back off. What are your thoughts on this, Goldie? Do you reckon DoYuEven have started to pick up their momentum as a team? Has that to mesh?
I think they've got a much better team composition here than what the players do. I think King Killer on the Invoker is just bloody amazing. Those EMPs he's landed have just stopped so many shallow graves, killing that mana pool really messes up Skywrath as well. And it's just allowing UGTFO to go around and do what he wants.
And even the support play coming through from Henry as well as Caesar Cheese, and they've actually been positioning themselves a lot better this game. Not kind of sticking together, making sure their rotations are a bit more efficient. And Kid Killer as the Invoker, Clockwerk's Invoker, is just making it so damn difficult for Dagon Crusade to try to take any fight. So I think at this point they should actually just look to siege their tower. Say, alright, you want to take a tower, you can take it. We can't fight as 5, we might as well split up. Try find our farm that way and defend high ground. The tier 2 towers at this point actually aren't really worth anything, just because if you try to defend it, you're only going to get wiped. Especially now that you've got the Blade Mail online coming through for UGTFO. Orchid's almost finished from Kin. And you've always got the threat of Clockwerk on being to catch one person out of position. And Gats has been doing a pretty good job so far at being able to start good fights and isolate people. And with this, looks like they are just going to sacrifice their tier 3 tower. So we do see Bambi going to be the only hero outside of the map. I really would like to see 322 outside the map as well, applying a bit of pressure to the bottom lane. Just because you know there's actually nothing you can accomplish at this point. And this is the weakness of not going for any points in Mystic Snake. Mystic Snake is one of the best slow siege abilities that you have, just because it instantly obliterates the creep wave. Or drops it low enough that Yoshi should be able to finish it off. Gats unfortunately going to whiff the hook shot, does put himself in a compromised position, but while that's happening, tier 2 tower still should be eating a huge amount of damage. So Gats says, alright, space created boys. Gonna be seeing a flying pig's hook shot coming through from him. And while that happens, tier 2 tower does take a fall. They realize, okay, maybe we should try to defend this tier 2 tower in the bottom lane, since we can't afford to give away another tier 2 tower without feeding them basically 3,000 gold in the last 2 minutes. We do see the rotation now coming through from Henry, waiting in the back line. Bambi does have a TP at the ready, so he's not going to get caught out of position anytime soon. Also has the hand of minus, but here comes the Tornado. Actually, never mind, Tornado not going to land in time, so they are able to back off at least. And Kin, looks like he's got the Orchid almost completed, flying out towards him. Kira as well. Arcane Boots now choosing to prioritize the Arctic Bird, and UGTFO giving absolutely no fucks, just putting himself right in front of the tier 2 tower, saying, alright, you want to come at me? Come at me. I've got SNY, I've got the Blade Mail. Don't really have to worry about getting bursted down anytime soon, at least without taking one with me. And Caesar Cheese, excellent positioning coming up from him this game, actually making sure he's always hiding inside the tree line, so if they do try to initiate, they're not going to account for him. If they take this tier 2 tower without too much difficulty, they can actually look to wrap around and even go for Roshan at this point, as long as they're able to get some aggressive wards. So an aggressive ward here, as well as potentially here, gives them vision into where they're going to if they want to try to intercept for Roshan. But looks like they're going to try to breach high ground. This could be a bit of a mistake, just because Medusa is one of the best heroes at defending high ground, but that being said, the weakness of not going for the Mystic Snake build is it makes it that much more difficult. Gat's going to whip another hook shot, Mystic Flare, the Stone Gate's going to be forced down, UGTFO backs away, actually pops the Blade Mail, Yoshi almost dies as a result, the EMP finishes him off, King Killer saying, alright, let's do this. 322 going to die in the Death Ward, it looks like, and Caesar Cheese able to do a huge amount of work, the Medusa actually being body blocked in by the Phoenix, and with this, Gat's able to find himself another pick off against Flash, 322 barely able to limp away to safety. And with this, they don't really have to worry about anything. They've got 2 kills basically for free, even though they're with the hook shot. So the tier 3 tower should be taking a fall. 322, the Stone Gaze unfortunately wasn't really able to do anything, as UGTFO, the Ancient Seal Blade Mail play, turned around over on Yoshi. Yoshi Laguna blading, a Blade Mail hero. Not really working out too nicely for him. And ACL doesn't have the weave to work with, so this is another critical factor. Not having to deal with the weave means you can try to breach high ground without too much difficulty. And Kin throws out the Tornado, lands over on Bambi, he's able to land the Wind's Curse over 322 fields, and Flash just gets obliterated by the EMP. Once again, Gats a huge amount down from Yoshi. Looks like he might actually take a fall, but UGTFO, he's going to be the true Flash, able to find himself another pick off. And ACL, one right click coming through from UGTFO, should be enough, able to do it. King Killer finishes his Orchid, actually instantly pops the Ghost Walk, starts waddling away. Caesar Cheese and Henry, getting a bit of damage against the range racks, decide to switch targets towards the melee. Generally, if you think they're going to buy back and try to defend this, you want to go for the range racks and guarantee a set of racks. Blood Rack going to be thrown out by UGTFO. It's actually going to land over on 322 at least, eats the Laguna Blade once again. But they should be able to clear up the set of racks without too much difficulty. UGTFO whacks down the melee racks, and with this, Voice from DoYuEven back away. And Dagon, if I was in Dagon Club's shoes at this point, might be worth tapping out. You're 20,000 gold behind at the 19-minute mark. This is a classic Death Ball strat coming through from the boys over from DoYuEven. Much better execution coming through from them this time, and Henry. As the 5 position Winter Wyvern now has a blink tag at the 19-minute mark. What are your thoughts on that, Gooley?
Yeah, that was clinical. They did bloody well with their top. And that's, I mean, the Cold Embrace is just a shit load of work. It's a bit hard to compete with that when Medusa's going to need another 20 minutes before he even has anything. Yoshi's looking a bit underfarmed, and the support's 6. Yeah,
I'm quite surprised they chose to actually go for the Medusa pick. Medusa going for the Max Splitshot build. I mean, that Max Splitshot build back when Mystic Snake used to be a lot worse. is actually fairly effective, but now with how many buffs the Mystic Snakes receives, especially as far as high ground defense is concerned, this actually has cost them a huge amount of momentum as far as high ground defense is concerned. Had they had the maxed out Mystic Snake with Yoshi, it's going to make sure that the creep wave dies before they even get to the tower. So had they gone for that line of play instead, wouldn't have actually lost their set of Rex, because it would have forced DoYuEven to try fight inside their base, rely on Gat's hookshotting and putting himself at risk, as well as Yoshi accident, Laguna blading UGTFO. They actually threw the bottom defense coming through from them. NACL still doesn't have Weave, and this is another critical fact. Speaking of which, Gat's able to get a good isolation over in 3-2-2. Unfortunately, not able to get the cogs off in time. Here comes the EMP. EMP's going to whiff, unfortunately, and with this, DoYuEven might decide to back away. There's no point in them trying to force this. They can actually look to go for Roshan. They don't have to worry about them trying to contest Roshan anytime soon, but Salve has actually been used as well as a Cold Embrace. They want to try end the game now. So like the aggression coming through from the boys in DoYuEven, going to be seeing some super deathball plays coming through from them. They realize that when you're this far ahead with 20,000 gold, you might as well try end it. The drawback, of course, if they do get wiped, they're feeding about 6,000 gold back into the hands of Dagon Crusade. Never mind the amount they lose, so they really can't afford to take any losses if they try to take this. If UGTFO gets picked off, it could actually give Dagon Crusade a breath of fresh air to try regroup and try to take the game late. So the best line to play for them can actually just be look to go for Roshan. You don't have to worry about Dagon Crusade trying to contest Roshan, especially because you've got the Clockwerk Goblin there to be able to scout people out with the Rocket Flare and just hookshot in to try to buy some time. UGTFO and Kin should be able to solo this, but UGTFO activating the Blade Mail over against 3-2-2, activating a little bit preemptively. He could actually be called out, but he's got the BKB to work with, forcing out the Supernova. Great play coming through from Gats, actually isolating the entire opposing team, forcing them to split off. Gats unfortunately might die, actually being kept alive by the Cold Embrace, still doing a huge amount of work, and with the Winter's Curse, 3-2-2, dies to the Death Ward, sees the cheese, great performance over in the Witch Dog. The UGTFO is going to run people down. NACL, looks like the Weave is actually pushing back UGTFO, he can't actually choose to dive this, goes in, actually dies as a result.
Oh, what a play.
So UGTFO getting a little bit too cocky there. This is why you don't want to dive with the Weave. The Weave just pretty much ruins your day. And they actually just fed a massive amount of gold off the back of that kill. Flash goes in for the Mystic Flare, but Kin just says bitch please and just whacks him down. We do see the Laguna Blade now coming through from Yoshi, able to find himself a pick off against Kin, and a huge unstoppable streak. And this is the start of a turnaround coming through from the boys in Dagon Crusade. There's pick off from the two highest net worth players in the opposing team. Did give them a fair amount of momentum. Even though they lost that tier 3 tower, they have at least gotten themselves a bit of a comfortable amount of gold to try to start to recover. So we went from about 20,000 net worth lead to about 17,000, all off the back of those 2 kills. It's a pretty good fight coming through from the boys in Dagon Crusade. They did lose their tier 3 tower, but they were bound to lose something at this point. So it really did boil down to the fact that NACL was able to throw out the Weave on UGTFO, got a little bit too greedy, and as a result, fed a massive amount of gold. So when you're this far ahead, you can't afford to go for any YOLO plays. Even the slightest mistake from you can potentially swing momentum back into their hands. So this is a bit like a pendulum. Henry, as the Winter Wyvern, being pretty good with the Winter's Curses, constantly being able to catch out 3-2-2. Especially since 3-2-2, not going for the Trident Classic Medusa build, but you go for the Lincoln Sphere first. Forced to go for the Yasha, maybe think about picking up a Manstell's as first item just so we could actually fight with the rest of his team. So in this case, maybe thinking about going for the Lincoln Sphere wouldn't actually have been too bad. So the much more Trident Classic Medusa build of Lincoln Sphere into Max Mystic Snake would have actually been the better line to play here, coming through from 3-2-2. So 3-2-2, maybe not so familiar with the Medusa, since he has been making a couple of mistakes that way. Gat's actually able to isolate that Bambi, but Bambi's just able to Icarus dive out. And Gat's now going to be in the line of fire, will just be taking a fall for nothing. He doesn't actually activate his Blade Mail before he zipped in. So Dagon Club going to be very happy with that pick off. You generally want to go for the either the Lina or the Skywrath Mage with the hookshot, because they're the 2 heroes that can't do anything, especially if you have your Blade Mail active. You generally want to activate your Blade Mail as you go in, or activate before you hookshot in. So with this, Roshan's been pinged out. They don't have the Clockwerk though, so that is going to make it a little bit more difficult. But there should just be the right click down. Kin now has a Deathblade to work with, so he says, alright, I'm no longer Ghetto Clinks, I am basically Clinks, just with more abilities. Especially with the Orchid and the Desolator, he's doing huge amounts of damage. And UGTFO now going in once again for the Basher. Really do want to give the Aegis over to the Bloodseeker, just because you know that he's going to be the one playing the most YOLO. So giving the Bloodseeker a second life, especially if they expend a lot of resources to kill him the first time, can be what you need to just brute force your way through the mid lane. And with this, Gets is starting to build towards the Aghanim Scepter. So long as he's able to land a hookshot, if he could ideally land it on NACL and kill him before they're able to start a fight with the Shallow Grave, does put them in a great position. But sees the cheese, fantastic job with the positioning for the Death Ward, able to constantly isolate out 3-2-2, as well as Henry with the Winter's Curse. So being a Winter's Curse and catch Flash, he's repeatedly caught Flash as well as 3-2-2. Flash is constantly sticking to him like glue, not really too sure how effective it's been. And UGTFO Most likely should be looking to go for the range racks. Hookshot comes through from Gats. Unfortunately, not going to land over anybody. Gats now going to be caught in the line of fire with the Supernova. Gats now turned to stone. Eats the LSA to the face. Might actually die to the Supernova, but sees the cheese, making a huge amount of damage. Supernova's now going to pop over on Gats, but Gats is still alive. Just activates the Blade Mail, stands his ground. UGTFO. Whacks down one. Yoshi, I mean, the next one to be whacked down. His looks at the Winner's Curse is isolating him for now. UGTFO gets himself another easy pick-off. Has to turn around and go for NACL instead. Good discipline being shown. And that's going to be a complete rout for them. Bambi's going to be the only survivor. And they are choosing to chase him instead of just going for objectives. Henry's saying, come on guys, just finish the game. Go for objectives. UGTFO. Could have run in. Has to be a little bit wary of potentially being bursted down. So he's just going to whack down a couple of creeps for now. And with this should be game, set, and match. You can't really see Dagon Crusade recovering from this. Bambi running from his life from Henry as Henry with the Arctic Burn. Doing as much damage as possible, but even Bleaks on top of him for this. And with this, Henry as well as Gats able to find himself a nice pick-off. UGTFO and Kin playing seriously, able to at least try to secure as many objectives as possible. Do have the buyback coming through from Flash, so UGTFO can get bursted down, but the Tornado actually interrupts Bambi. Bambi now caught with the silent, could just get right-clicked down by UGTFO. Flash now out of position as well. UGTFO activates his Blade Mail, saying, alright, you want to do this? Let's dance. And ACL going to get 3 shot down by Kin, is able to at least finish him off with the Shadow Wave. But here comes UGTFO. UGTFO just going to leg it out of there. No point in overextending at this point. You've got 2 sets of racks. Never mind, starts to turn around. Goes in against 3-2-2, going to eat a stun to the face, and as a result get picked off. So that's a massive misplay coming through from UGTFO. That is actually feeding a huge amount of gold back into their hands, but Kin buying back. The boys from DoYuEven, they just want to finish the game at this point. Yoshi gets picked off, 3-2-2. Running for his life, the Splinter Blast going to fly over an NACL, and with this they've bought themselves enough space to be able to finish off the game. Mega Creep's going to be coming online for the boys in DoYuEven. Excellent performance coming through from them this game in Flash. Showing once again why he's not so great on the support heroes that play very aggressively early on, needs a lot of farm in order to play the support. Wasn't really able to have much impact in the off lane, in the safe lane against Gats. As a result, melee rack's going to be taking a fall, 3-2-2. Split job build unfortunately just wasn't going to be effective enough. They needed more defensive and more lane control. Capability coming in through from the Mystic Snake. Mega Creeps are now up, and Kin, they can afford to just back off at this point. Stone Gaze has been used, as well as the Cold Snap over on 3-2-2. Kin just going to back himself away. He can decide to turn around and just BOTL, or he can actually try fight this. Flash, going to be a little bit exposed here. Kin just decides to Ghost Walk and just waddle on out. They don't actually have any vision. Turns around over on Flash, one hits him. NACL throws up the Poison Touch, just backs away. Doesn't want to stick around for too long. UGTFO now has the Basher to work with. Hookshot comes through from Gats, actually isolates NACL. Decides not to throw out the cogs though. Gats is being a bit greedy with them, actually now pushes them back. NACL going to be isolated, gets picked off. Winner's Curse being used as well, and Gats eats the Laguna Blade, screaming from the Laguna. He's going to be very happy. He lives from that. And looks like that's it. Any final thoughts, Cooley?
Oh, I'm just wondering who's going to be the next player to leave Dagon Club.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm a bit of a prick like that.
I mean, the last time they lost the game, it did cause Psyche to rage, so maybe this time gives see another hero raging out. And speaking of which, Flash kills himself once again to the Mystic Flare. So UGTFO is saying, hey Flash, this is how you play Bloodseeker. You go for a Blade Mail. None of this ISCARDI SNY cutesy stuff. Blade Mail to BKB, SNY as well, and with this, should be an easy series for the boys in DoYuEven. Game 1 was a very hit and miss. Game 2, they still had a couple of sloppy plays, but looks like third time's going to be the charm for the boys in DoYuEven. Finally able to play off each other a bit more successfully. So this game basically boils down to Kid Killer's dominating performance as the Invoker, as well as the fact that UGTFO once again giving him a tier 1 hero like Leshrac the Bloodseeker, able to snowball under control. A couple of mechanical misplays coming through from the boys over in Dagon Club. 3-2-2 decided not to go for the Mystic Snake, really did cost him a huge amount of momentum in these early fights. Bit unfortunate that Flash wasn't able to accomplish much against Gats over in the safe lane, and because you've got the Dazzle you can't really rotate, and so their greed actually wound up turning against them. Good recognition coming through from Gats, just purchasing an extra set of tangos to start with, so that way you can just outlast the damage potential coming through from the Skywrath. So that's going to be it for tonight. Looks like Fight Club will advance into the next stage, and I believe we're going to be seeing Dagon Crusade do play a best of 1 elimination series against, I believe it might be a Baden. So that should be it for now. As always, I'm 49, the Mastercaster who talks a lot faster, and that's going to be it for tonight.